For today's cup of coffee, we have a story that I will have a totally different take on this than youngest kid.
Yeah, probably.
It's kind of horrifying to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And probably
What is
lots
it?
of others.
Please elaborate.
This comes from The Mirror, and this is by Maynard, Manyo. That's what it says. And
What?
Laura Sharman of, this is August
Like
8th
toilet
of
paper
2022.
brand? Sharman?
No, I think that's with an E. No, that's a CH. This is an SH.
It sounds the same.
It does. And this is entitled, Woman Driven Out of Home by Monster Rats Dragging Chains Around Torture Attic.
This is a slander against rats.
Now, you gotta realize, The Mirror and The Star, I think is the other one, they sort of verge on Weekly World News type
This
things.
is what's sounding like a Weekly World News bullshit.
But at least the Weekly World News, they are what they are. Everybody knows that they are what they are.
Voodoo.
And it's like he has let Cat in, and Cat is crawling on my plants. But he'll be okay. Hopefully, until it ain't. So,
Oh god, she's...
the article starts out and says, a woman was driven out of her own home by a swarm of monstrous rats that took up residence in her attic. The beastly rodents would terrorize Livy Roberts around the clock and drag steel chains along the floor of the creepy attic.
What? Now, listen.
I'm just reading what's written here.
Listen. How are they dragging the chains around? How big are the chains?
Exactly. How big are the rats?
How thick are the chains? How big are the rats? How big are their faces? Are they like House with a very small face but the really big bodies? What are they?
What was that in Princess Bride? Rodents of unusual size or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I never watched that movie.
What?
Yeah.
I have, again, failed as a parent.
I didn't watch that
God.
shit.
No, Princess Bride
was
is
watching,
one of
like-
the best movies ever. It is. It's a great movie.
I was watching like Legally Blonde and Mean Girls.
That
and
was not by my, consent.
that was mine. It was because I wanted to.
He set up a precedence of him going to be a TikTok user. He really did. Anyhow, Livy told how she endured months of irritating tapping sounds coming from the roof constantly 7 days a week, and said the entire ordeal drove her insane.
Mm.
Now, is that hyperbole or is that literal? And it says the student first noticed noises around 2 months after moving into the property at Woodhouse in Leeds. Quote, I kept hearing this tapping kind of sound. I didn't get it sorted at first because I honestly thought it was just the shower dripping or something. But it kept happening more and more until I realized it was definitely tapping multiple times a day, end quote. After realizing there was more to the strange sounds, Livy contacted her landlords, who were very helpful and called in experts. Okay, now let's look at this, just this little bit. If it was a shower dripping, that's pretty much constant.
Yeah.
There's a difference between
and you could have gone to
tapping.
check your shower if it was wet.
Somebody who's...
Why didn't you check your shower if it was wet?
We've needed to replace a washer for years.
Why didn't you sit there? Why didn't you sit there on the toilet as you are shitting and just stare right at the faucet and be like, huh, we got a leak.
There was no need to go there. None.
That's how everybody finds out they got a leak.
No. There was a difference between a dripping sound and a tapping sound. And mice or rats don't usually make a tapping sound. They make a scurrying sound.
Well, if they're chewing on like
That's
the wall
worse.
or whatever,
That sounds like it's coming through.
That's when that's the tapping sound, I guess. So it could be them chewing, because that's what it was like with Deku when he would chew.
Insert me with horrified face.
You love Deku.
I did love Deku, but the thought of rats chewing in the walls. That's
you just
the
wait
stuff
till I
of
get...
No, that's what...
I'm sorry, I had.
That's okay. That's okay. Hang on just a second. Let me grab my. Alright. That was random.
Yes, it was very random for me. Because it's like all of a sudden I feel this like in my nose.
Are there more?
I am not okay.
Are you gonna vomit?
No, my nose.
It just did that after the sneeze. Do you need to blow your nose? It's not going to help. I can tell you that. I can hear the swelling. You did this to me.
Huh?
You did this to me.
What were we saying?
Okay, that's like.
Oh, I forgot to mention Bratz and Barbie movies and all that shit.
Just leave it. Leave it. Okay. Do your thing.
But what were we saying, like, for real, before?
Seriously, she's contacted the landlords, and it'll pick up after that where you can... God,
I need to brush my teeth.
Livy said, quote, to be fair, I actually had good landlords, so they did call in some people to take a look.
Well, good for
The
you.
exterminators didn't seem to believe me, but sure enough, when they went up into the attic, they saw a ton of rat droppings, so decided to set up some poison. Basically, they told me I might hear a bit more at first, but the poison would quickly get them to leave. They were to leave one way or the other.
Yeah.
They were going to come back in 2 weeks to check it out. The exterminators, not the rats.
Oh, God.
So, and I'm like, even on that, why didn't she go up to the attic?
Right.
I mean, did they really have to pay for somebody to go up there and see that rats had been up there? That's not hard.
No.
And they could have saved money on that. It says, as expected, the activity increased as the rats flocked to the attic, but Levy said that the rodents are immortal and appeared to survive the poison.
The fuck?
She said, quote, sure enough, the rats are going crazy. I hear them all running around constantly. It doesn't stop, though. The exterminators see a bunch of poison has been eaten, and basically it's rinse and repeat over and over, end quote, because the things aren't dying. Seems like I have heard over the years that some of these poisons, that the animals are becoming immune to them.
Yeah, I have heard that too.
Whether it's a matter of rats or insects or whatever.
Yeah, the jiggly,
So
the cat with the jiggly butt.
Well,
She knocked over the damn thing.
That's all right. And despite gobbling up so much poison, Levy said the rats did not die and the noises got worse until their efforts ceased. She stated, quote, at some point we kind of just gave up. There was nowhere else anyhow. What does that mean? Nowhere else to go?
Yeah.
No one else to ask? It says
Nowhere to hide.
Months of listening to them run around 24/7 was driving me insane, though, end quote. But Livy said the most interesting part of the entire ordeal was that the attic where the rats stayed resembled a torture chamber.
The fuck?
Okay, and now I think it's a little melodrama there.
Yeah.
She stated, the fun or creepy part was the house's attic. It literally looked like some kind of torture room, end quote. Okay, fun part? Is she like the torture rooms?
Someone's fetish?
Yeah. There are so many things wrong with this article that, okay, it says about the dragging of the chains, and like Kid said, how big of the chains? How much of the chains? It was just mentioned in that one little thing. I think I would have had more emphasis on the rat's ability to drag chains. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a difference between, like, big chains and jewelry chains.
Yeah.
You know,
those little piss baby chains ain't gonna make nothing.
It was like
no sound.
Cheap dollar store jewelry, dragging that through. But now, there's, I'm trying to remember the Stephen King movie. I think it may have been called Night Shift. which is brilliant. Which is about these ginormous rats.
Yeah.
That they had lived in this. It was basically an underground cemetery type thing.
Pet Cemetery?
No, it was a different movie by Stephen King. But it's a really cool movie. It honestly is. And then those of us who grew up during the time of a movie called Willard, where dude trained these rats to go and gnaw people's faces off.
Have I seen that one?
Probably not. And then the sequel was called Ben. So
I'm wondering if I've seen those or not.
But honestly, with the Night Shift movie, and if that's not the correct movie, then somebody please, correct me in the comments on that. There is a historic cemetery in the tiny town near us, and it actually has graves from, I think, actually from the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
And we did a tour there maybe last year, and we'll probably do that again here before Halloween. Show some of the gravestones. We're fans of actual gravestones because there was a lot of talent that it took to make those, and we're always respectful anytime that we go to a graveyard.
Yeah.
But there is a house across the road from this, and that I knew someone who lived in that house. And they would talk about these large rats.
How large?
Large.
Like bigger than your hand large?
Oh, yeah. Like wharf rat size. Like size of Chihuahua.
I was about to be like,
That's
how
a big ass
wharf
rat. Now, and that they couldn't stop
How big of a Chihuahua? Like the teacup Chihuahuas or the marbles Chihuahua? Jenna Marbles?
Size Chihuahua. And to the thought of something like that trying to chew into your house, and
I'd go get the shovel.
I've shovel nothing. Go get the shotgun. Now that's one of those. I've been sitting there. That is not even tennis racket worthy. Now maybe baseball bat. And as far as it's some of these animal rights activists, no, screw you. If there's a huge ass rat coming to my house, it's gone. Now I ain't gonna go hunting for them. But
I'd be like, oh, come here, my baby.
No, it's like, come here, golf club on that one. That would work too.
Come by here, little boy. Come by here.
But they did eventually move. And I have wondered the people who, moved into the house next, did they have other, and the person that lived there, very mild-mannered, not prone to drama, none of that stuff. It was just a matter of fact. It's like, oh, by the way, we have this, and I'm like, what? No, that wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds.
No.
No, I'm not a fan of the large rats. Now, hamster is not a rat. They're in that same classification.
The fancy rats. The fancy rats.
That's totally different than, like
the fancy rats are about like this big.
We had the white lab rats, which I did not mess with when I was in college. I just didn't.
How big were the lab rats?
They were that like palm, that. Yeah, and bigger white, typical white lab rats.
Yeah, those are the same type.
No, they didn't torture them. They just had them run through mazes and
they're
stuff.
the same type that they sell at like PetSmart or something. Okay. Those are the fancy rats.
Some of them would become violent.
And they were stressed the fuck out.
They would have to destroy those. That's what they did. I was not
That's fucking horrible. You don't destroy them. Give them to me.
I was not involved in any of them. If they got to where they were biting and stuff like that, that's just the people that were over the rat department
They're the ones being abused.
They were just making them run through mazes. It wasn't like they were...
Do you know how much stress that is to a little animal?
Do you know how much stress it is to be a college student? This was back in the day. It's not like these pampered asses today. Yeah, I
had to go through beauty school.
Oh, God. Anyhow.
You want to tell me about pain?
Anyhow, it's like I was sitting there smoking, because you could still smoke in the buildings back in 02.
I'd hang my head out the window.
And some of the babies had escaped, And so
Oh
every now and
the little
then,
pinkies.
no, they were a little bit older than the pinkies.
Okay.
You'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden, something would swoop, go from door to door.
Like, oh, what the fuck was that?
And it was, some more chaos and mayhem. Because I was not.
Come to me and babies.
I was just sitting there.
Come to me, babies.
It's not big enough to spook me. I just thought it was funny.
I want rats. I want rats. I want 2 male fancy rats.
Yeah, okay. I was dubious about the hamster. I really was. As long as they stay where they're supposed to stay. Mm-hmm. And the cats actually did very well. They behaved themselves around the hamster.
Hilo and Milo actually ended up adoring him.
Yeah.
And they would, like, sometimes he would cuddle up with them.
Which is highly unusual. Some of the indoor-outdoor cats, that wouldn't have happened.
No.
And so we don't usually have to worry about mice,
everything.
rats, anything like that.
God, I love that hamster.
Maybe these people needed to rent out one of these full Maine Coon cats. Those 3 and 4 foot long cats.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they...
That's a horse.
I don't know if
whose horse is that?
I don't know if they are good mousers or not.
I don't know, but they're good cuddlers.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
They're good.
But
they're
no,
good
I don't want no
buddies.
rats as far as that type thing. It's always good to have a 12 gauge and a baseball bat in your house. You never know for just whatever purpose that you may need that.
Yeah.
So, if you've had experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids,
Rats,
rodents of enormous size, whatever, if you've got local, regional, or family myths or legends, send us an email, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. If you need prayers or anything like that, same email address. Mm-hmm. Know that you're loved.
Yes. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads. Something got stuck in my throat as soon as I was speaking.
It's the damn allergies. I'm telling you, they're horrible this year.
Yeah.
So anyhow, on that note, we will see you on the next cup. Bye.
I need water. I need more water.